Welcome to IVF This, episode 102, Infertility Fears. Welcome to IVF This. I'm your host, Emily Ginn. After 10 years of primary and secondary infertility due to both male and female factor infertility, I am now the mother to 3 beautiful miracles. I am married to my favorite person in the world. I'm a social worker, a life coach, and an IVF warrior. I'm here to teach you how to manage your mind and emotions during your IVF journey, to break free from anxiety and regain control of your life, even in the midst of infertility. I'm going to teach you how to say IVF this to how we think about, talk about, and experience infertility. Let's go. Hello, my beautiful friends. I hope you're all doing so well today, because we are going to be talking about fear. You know, I love those light and fun topics, but in all seriousness, I think that this topic is so important to cover because 1, it will help you to normalize the experience of fear for those of us experiencing infertility. And 2, I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding around fear that I think creating more understanding around might just help change some of y'all's experience of fear as an emotion. And if that sounds a little bit confusing, promise me, stick with me. I will help explain and help you understand when we get to that part. So for the first bit, I want to talk about some common fears that I have either had or that my clients have expressed to me. Then I want to touch on what fear is not, and then I'm going to give you an amazing quote about fear that I want to share. I want to share with every single person. So let's dive into some common fears around infertility. This is by no means an exhaustive list. So if there's something that you have some fear around and it's not listed, it doesn't mean anything other than it wasn't included in this list. It doesn't mean it's irrational or whatever. It doesn't mean it's not normal, anything like that. I assure you, whatever it is normal, it is rational, it is valid. Okay? So here we go. I won't ever get pregnant, or I won't get pregnant again. I won't be able to carry a baby to term. I won't be able to emotionally handle this process or emotionally handle a loss. Time is running out. I have PCOS or endo or other potential medical diagnoses that could affect pregnancy. And because of that, I won't be able to conceive. I don't think I can handle IVF. I don't think I could handle another round of IVF. I don't think I can handle the cost of IVF. What if I never become a mom? What if my partner leaves me because I can't give them a baby? What if I react badly to the medication, like I'm super angry or I'm not able to function? What if the side effects make things worse? What if they find something during my ultrasound? What if I go to my ultrasound and they don't see anything? What if infertility forever changes my relationship with my partner? What if it drives us apart? What if I can't bring myself to give or get daily injections? What if I missed my chance to have a family? What if I never have a chance to have a family? What if my body can't react or doesn't react to the stimulation medication? What if during the egg collection, they find out I ovulated early? What if none of the eggs fertilize? What if none of them develop? What if during chromosomal testing, it comes back and nothing is viable? What if the embryo transfer is unsuccessful? What if the doctor tells me, I'm so sorry, there's nothing more we can do for you? What if we do all of these things, we spend all of this money, and we get nothing out of it? What if during the transfer, the embryologist trips and falls while carrying the tiny pipette containing my embryo? And I know that last one sounds silly. It was actually a legitimate fear I had for all 3 of my transfers. I threw it in there to highlight, yes, it sounds silly when we say it out loud, but it sounds very serious in our heads, right? And I could go on, but in the interest of time, I think you all get the idea. I think most of us can relate to at least one of these fears. Hell, maybe you've even lived through the reality of one of these. But each and every one of these things can pretty much be boiled down to the idea or the fear that I want this thing so desperately, and I'm scared I might not get it. And I'm scared of what my life might look like if I don't get it. I think one of the biggest reckonings that we face with infertility is reimagining what our lives might look like without this thing that we desire so desperately. And very often that prospect is absolutely terrifying. So let's talk about fear. I love the way Wikipedia outlines fear. Fear is a feeling induced by a perceived danger or threat that occurs in certain types of organisms, which causes a change in metabolic and organ functions and ultimately a change in behavior such as fleeing, hiding, or freezing from perceived traumatic events. In humans and animals, fear is modulated by the process of cognition and learning. The fear response serves survival by generating appropriate behavioral responses, so that has been preserved throughout evolution. And I know that that's a ridiculously scientific definition or explanation of fear, but I think that that's important to know, right? What's really fascinating about fear is that it's one of our most primitive emotions. Fear is composed of two primary reactions to whatever perceived threat, either physical threat or emotional threat. Your brain interprets them both the same. So the first part of the reaction is the biochemical reaction. This is when your brain senses that threat or that danger and the chemical reaction of your adrenal gland releasing that adrenaline and cortisol. This chemical release lasts for about 90 seconds. And when I say all of this happens instantaneously, I mean it happens instantaneously. You cannot control it. It is a mechanism of survival in the truest sense, and you want it to happen that way. Because imagine you're living thousands of years ago and some sort of external threat comes upon you, like a tiger or an animal or something. The flood of adrenaline makes your heart beat faster, makes your lungs breathe more efficiently. It causes the blood vessels to send more blood to your brain and your muscles so you can run fast. It increases your blood pressure. It makes your brain more alert. It raises sugar levels in your blood to give you energy. Your pupils grow larger and you sweat. These biochemical responses were designed to help get you to safety, to run, or to fight if necessary. We don't want our brains to not perceive threat. And I really want you to keep that in mind, that we want our brains to do this. This is also, interestingly, a similar biochemical reaction when we are really excited about something. Now, the other primary reaction to fear is our emotional reaction, which, unlike biochemical, which you can pretty much guarantee is going to happen to some degree, a person's emotional response to fear is very subjective. Like I said a second ago, fear and excitement have a very similar chemical reaction in our bodies, so sometimes fear can feel fun. Maybe you're watching a scary movie, going to a haunted house during Halloween, or going to the top of a very high building, which is not somewhere you would ever find me, but that's okay. Feeling fear under certain circumstances can be seen and thought of as fun, and that's what I want to talk about. If you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you have heard me talk about how I believe that our thoughts are just neutral. They are sentences in our brain, similar to a writer writing a book. They're just words that you're using to describe your experience of something. They are neither good nor bad. However, it is when we have had a thought and when we assign a value judgment or a moral judgment on that thought. Oh, that's a great thought. It feels super good. Or, oh, that's a terrible thought. I can't believe I thought that. Neither is true of the thought itself. It's just what you have decided the thought means. And it's the same with our feelings. Our feelings or emotions, however you want to name them, are neither good nor bad. They're just what we are feeling. We assign good or bad, usually based on how we feel in our bodies while we're experiencing that emotion. For instance, grief is an incredibly powerful and really uncomfortable emotion for us to experience, so we often label it as bad. Joy, on the other hand, often feels amazing, so we label that as good. And to further complicate things, there are some of us that don't feel comfortable experiencing happiness or joy. Those emotions might actually feel dangerous to us based on our own lived experience. So all this to say is emotions are completely neutral and always subjective. When it comes to fear, because there are so many sensations that occur when we experience fear, we often label it as bad when we are experiencing what I would call involuntarily. What I mean is when we are voluntarily putting ourselves in situations where fear can be induced, again, scary movie, haunted house, whatever, we interpret that as good or at least neutral, as if it was expected. When we experience them involuntarily, say when we have one of those thoughts that I opened the episode with and they pop into your head and the same chemical reaction occurs as if you are being chased by something, we label that fear as bad. We resist it. We argue with it. We try to rationalize our way out of it because it's so uncomfortable. But it was the label that we assign to that feeling, not the feeling itself. For most of us, fear is seen as a stop sign. Turn around, do not proceed, that kind of thing. But that's not now, nor has it ever been the purpose of fear. Fear is much more of a caution sign, a flashing yellow light, if you will, a way for your brain to say, hey, there might be some danger ahead. I'm trying to take care of you, so I want you to proceed with caution. It is, I like to think, a way at the most primitive level that your body and your brain have your back. It's a I got you moment. I'm going to share a lengthy quote from Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic. You're probably familiar with her as she wrote Eat, Pray, Love, but Big Magic was much more about living a life as a creative and how challenging it can be to put your work out and your mind into the world. Now, the reason I love this passage so much is because it really helped me reframe my relationship with fear, and I think it might help you too. To start, Miss Gilbert describes her previously contentious relationship with fear. But as she started exploring her fear, she developed an almost maternal relationship with her fear as a caregiver, as a friend. She talks about lovingly embracing her fear. In the excerpt I'm about to read, Miss Gilbert has written a letter to her fear, and I love it so much, and it bears repeating. So, dearest fear, creativity and I are about to go on a road trip together. I understand you'll be joining us because you always do. I do acknowledge that you believe you have an important job to do in my life and that you take that job seriously. Apparently, your job is to induce complete panic whenever I'm about to do anything interesting, and may I say, you are superb at your job. So by all means, keep doing your job if you feel you must. But I will also be doing my job on this road trip, which is to work hard and stay focused. And creativity will be doing its job, which is to remain stimulating and inspiring. There's plenty of room in this vehicle for all of us, so make yourself at home. But understand this, creativity and I are the ones that will be making all the decisions along the way. I recognize and respect that you are part of this family, and I will never exclude you from our activities. But still, your suggestions will never be followed. You're allowed to have a seat, and you're allowed to have a voice, but you are not allowed to have a vote. You are not allowed to touch the road maps. You are not allowed to suggest detours. You are not allowed to fiddle with the temperature. Dude, you're not even allowed to touch the radio. But above all else, my dear old familiar friend, you are absolutely forbidden to drive. Oh, I love it so much. I still get goosebumps reading it after all these years. I have used this letter to fear for so many things since the first time I read it, which was like in 2016. So we're like going on 6.5 years, folks. I used this when we were approaching what was inevitably my failed cycle. And then again, when we had our successful cycle, when I moved from social work to life coaching, when I moved from general life coaching to IVF coaching. When I launched my podcast, I probably used this letter daily leading up to its final launch. It truly has changed my perception, my relationship with fear. And you can swap out her word creativity for anything you want. IVF and I are about to go on a road trip together. My career and I are about to go on a road trip together. Quite literally, anything you're needing help with. What I love about this letter so much is that it's almost a visualization exercise. I can see myself, a version of me as creativity, or whatever it is I'm focusing on, and a version of me as my fear. When I visualize them as versions of me, aspects of me, it gives me an opportunity to show myself so much compassion and love. Of course, I'm afraid of this thing. Maybe I fear rejection, humiliation, grief, or loss. Of course I do. I am human, and I can love myself through it all. I can do things scared. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to work out exactly the way I think it should. Well, obviously, that's the most desirable outcome, but I can do things when I am afraid because fear is not the enemy. I'm going to leave you with one more quote from Big Magic. It seems to me that the less I fight my fear, the less it fights back. If I can relax, fear relaxes too. And if that is ever a quote that is so true about allowing your feelings, to let them sit with you, to welcome them, and to love yourself when you're experiencing them. And that is what I want for each and every one of you. Okay, that is what I have for you this week. Have a great week, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of IVF This. If you like what you've heard and want to learn more, head over to ivfthiscoaching.com. That's www.ivfthiscoaching.com.